sticking to outdated goals can be very, very risky. Businesses that are willing to pivot, they can avoid potential pitfalls and reduce the risk of failure. Hey there, it's Jeff Luther, and you are diving into the podcast for the Service Business Blueprint. This is where I walk with you and help you unlock the secrets to building a thriving service-based business. We talk about everything from starting out to setting milestones in your company you didn't even know would exist. We'll cover entrepreneurship, personal growth, mindset, everything you need for success in your service-based business. You ready to build that blueprint? Hey guys, welcome back to the Service Business Blueprint, where we share tools, tips, and strategies to achieve your personal and business goals and overcome mindset obstacles. I'm your host, Jeff Luther, and in today's episode, we're diving into a topic that many entrepreneurs and business leaders kind of grapple with. It's the idea that it's okay for businesses to change their goals. Whether you're a startup founder or a seasoned executive, understanding the dynamics of goal evolution and goal setting, it can be crucial to the success of a business. So let's get started. The nature of business goals. Let's talk about what business goals are, why they matter. I did just a quick Instagram post not too long ago on people that feel like they have imposter syndrome, like they're supposed to know all these things, and internally they really don't, but the outside world kind of believes in them. And I was talking about my business, how I started my business, and it really was just a vehicle to get me where I wanted to be when I grew up. And as things went on and I started to get successful, I felt that same thing. I felt like I had to have goals. And one of the big pivots in my business was when we were setting up doing our annual goal planning, and we went around the room, and they started with me. You know what my goal was for the year? And I was like, I'm kind of a fraud as an entrepreneur. I don't have goals. I want to not worry about college. That's really about it. I have 3 kids. Cash is my favorite, the oldest, and I wanted to not worry about paying for college for my kids. And they were like, well, you have to have some goals. Like, well, I don't live a lavish lifestyle, so I don't want a new boat or anything. And they're like, oh, come on, you have to have some goals. Like, what do you want to build this company to? I was like, well, I don't want to sell it, so I don't have a number in mind. I don't want to watch someone tear down what I've built. So I felt like a real fraud. But then when we went around the room, there were other people in the room that had goals they wanted to attain and things that they had wanted to set up for themselves. So that's how we started. That's how we opened another business or another office in another state, was around the goals of the people in the room, the folks that worked for the company. So goals are important. Yeah, I didn't have any, but really I did have goals, and my goals were around building up the people that I was working with. So business goals, they provide direction, they provide focus, they act as a roadmap for decision making, resource allocation. Where are we going to spend money? What did we need to invest in? Where are our resources going to come from? All of those things, they can be the long-term vision or the short-term target. They're part of your strategy, but either way, they help businesses stay on course. They measure progress. If for nothing else, it helps in a measurement tool. But our business environment is not static, and that's why I want to go through this topic. I will tell you, I own a home inspection company. I've owned it for a little over 20 years, and the state of the real estate market is poor at best, I guess. So we're having a real tough time of it, and our goals have shifted as a company. So goals can go around a changing market. It can go around change in resources, a change in employment, a change in people. Market conditions shift, technologies evolve, consumer preferences change, what our customers want. And in a really dynamic landscape like that, rigid adherence to initial goals sometimes can be counterproductive. Hanging on to those goals to the very last breath can be the death of us. So businesses, they have to be flexible, they have to be adaptable, they have to be able to survive, and not only that, they have to be able to thrive, right? We have to be agile, and that's one of the things that smaller companies can do. They can be so agile, they can move so quick. A smaller company can implement a new product or a new service so fast compared to a larger company. It's like having a skiff out in a bay as opposed to a big ocean liner coming through. The way they can turn, the way they can pivot. So being able to change your focus, change your goals, not let go of those goals sometimes is a blessing. Also, the flip side of that is having the goals and staying focused is a key piece of operating a business. But sometimes you have no choice but to change those goals. So it's all about reassessing, seeing where you are you still on track, and do we need to change our goal? Is this still going to be our goal? We can look at a couple of case studies. I can go through a few real world examples of businesses that successfully changed their goals, almost their entire model, and then ultimately reap the benefits. Netflix, they were a DVD rental service. That's why they started. They started to recognize the shift in the consumer market, the behavior towards online streaming. And, of course, as our internet speed or connection speed got faster and faster, then the streaming got easier and easier and more reliable. So by pivoting their business model, they not only survived, but they came out like one of the dominant players in streaming entertainment, in streaming television and movies. And now I think they're the ones that are supposed to do that Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight too. So look at where they've come from. Slack, a lot of businesses use Slack. We were using it for a while, and now we use Microsoft Teams. But Slack started, it was a gaming company. It was called TinySpec. But when their gaming system or their game that they had failed to get any traction, they kind of shifted their focus, and that went to an internal communication tool. I suspect, and I don't know this for certain, but what happened is they were using that platform to communicate about the progress of that game. And today Slack is one of the most widely used communication platforms worldwide, internally, externally. A lot of sales coaches use it, internal businesses use it. So it's a huge platform. Twitter, they began as a podcasting platform, and so Twitter's now X, right? But they were a podcasting platform, and Apple introduced the iTunes podcast, and then the company at the time, I think it was Odeo, they knew that they were going to have to shift, right? So the company pivoted to focus on a side project, like a microblogging service is what they called it, and that eventually became Twitter, which in turn became X, I guess. So why is it okay and sometimes necessary for businesses to change their goals? And don't let me confuse you. I am not confused. I was going to say, let's not get confused. I am not confused. But don't let me confuse you. I don't mean, oh wow, this is too hard, let's not do it and find another goal. Sometimes the market just changes. The market is constantly evolving. Businesses that can adapt their goals in response to these changes, they're better positioned to meet the new demands and capitalize on the emerging opportunities or emerging markets. That's why it's about adaptation to market change. And I'll talk about what we're doing as a company too. Innovation and growth. Changing goals can drive innovation in a company. When a company gets stale or stagnant, like for us, you're just having a number, like a sales number, a gross revenue number, doesn't drive innovation. Yeah, it might drive sales, it might drive marketing, it might drive activity, but it's not going to drive innovation. And I will tell you that there are some folks out there that say all you need to grow a business is activity. Whatever you're doing, double it. Whatever your competitor does, triple it. Find the person doing the most work out there or has the most output, do twice of what they're doing. But that doesn't spark innovation, and sometimes we have to have innovation to grow. So when a company shifts its goals or shifts its focus, it's forced to look at new ideas or new technology, which in turn may lead to growth and may lead to development, may lead to a whole new business strategy. Sticking to outdated goals can be very, very risky. Businesses that are willing to pivot, they can avoid potential pitfalls and reduce the risk of failure. For us, this might be a good time to tell you what happened in our company. Our business continued to decline. This started when interest rates went doubled and in some cases tripled. In 2022, our business started to decline. Long term, our goal, our ultimate goal, our BHAG, if you will, our big, hairy, audacious goal was to be at $10 million in sales. We were pushing a little over $3.5 million at the time, and we wanted to stick to that goal. So the way to stick to that goal was to have the same resources doing the same thing, pushing the same output and doing the same activities, and it became just about impossible because as your market declines, you're only going to get so much market share. So as the market continued to decline, we were keeping the same market share, but there just wasn't that much market out there to be had. So we had the same costs, same fixed costs, the same overhead, same labor, and the revenue was deteriorating. So we would operate anywhere from a 7 to 9% profit margin, and that became unrealistic. It became unsurvivable. So we had to change our goal, and the goal has shifted to profit as we've started to slim down or scale down to follow the market. Waiting. Market will come back. We're going to be poised for strength, but our focus now is a 15 to 20% profit margin, and we're hitting that and then some. So we've had to shift. We shift our goals. A customer-centric approach. As customer needs and preferences change, businesses need to adjust their goals to stay relevant. This is huge in my business. When I started this business, we would do home inspection reports, and they were on a 3-part carbonless system. So we had a white sheet on the top that we would write with. We always kept that white sheet. We had a white sheet on the top that we would write on, and that was for the customer, the client. They got the original. We would keep that next page, the yellow sheet, and then we would give a real estate agent, if they wanted a copy, they would have the pink sheet on all these carbonless forms. And that quickly went to a computer-generated form because I have horrible handwriting, and I know a lot of other folks do. So a lot of times there were calls about, was this a B or a C, and what does this mean, and what's this called, and I can't read your writing. So that quickly went to an electronic reporting format, and then from there started to insert pictures. Like inserting pictures into a Word document is miserable. But that developed into home inspection reporting software, and then there were companies that branched out beyond that. A good friend of mine owns a company, home inspection company, and they branched out and started doing home inspection reporting software. So talk about a shifting goal or being agile. Those are the things that will drive change in a business. Changing business goals is not without its challenges. I don't mean just willy-nilly, hey, what are you doing today? Not much. You're going to change some business goals. It's something that has to be thought through, has to be strategized. And here's some things that if you feel like your goals are stale or stagnant, here's some things to consider if you are thinking about changing a goal that might help with a smooth transition. Assessing what your current situation is. That's one of the things we had to do. We had to look at our current situation, conduct a thorough analysis of your current goals, what they are, what the market conditions are. That was a big factor for us. What your internal capabilities are. Internally, do you still have the capacity or the capability to meet those goals? And then if you want to change, what are the reasons for the change? And then what are the potential benefits of the change? And what are the potential benefits of staying the course? Communicate transparently. Keep all the stakeholders that are informed about the reasons for the change, how it's going to impact them. Clear and transparent communication, that gains support and that minimizes resistance. And without the support of the stakeholders, i.e. the employees, you're always going to have resistance meeting that goal, and sometimes it's not even going to be possible. Plan strategically. Develop a detailed plan outlining the new goals, the steps needed to achieve them. The things that you did for your initial goal, go through that same process. What are the resources going to be that are going to be required to, what are the resources going to be that are required to meet that goal? Set measurable milestones, track your progress, foster a culture of flexibility. Just by virtue of changing that goal, we know that we'll have a culture of flexibility. But when you're setting a new goal, it is going to shift. Tiny little incremental changes. Encourage a culture that embraces that change and that innovation. Empower employees to contribute ideas and to adapt to those new goals. Monitor and adjust. That's the biggest thing I can say, is keep monitoring your progress. What's the goal? Is this still the goal? Adjust as needed. It's like, you're flying, you're in a jetliner from Atlanta to Denver. You start out on a certain path, the wind blows you one way or another, you're just off by 2 degrees. You constantly want to keep looking at your path. Where are you going to end up? Not where you are, but that small degree, that small shift. You need to make those adjustments along the way to end up where your ultimate destination is, where your goal is. Got to be flexible. Flexibility is key. So as we've seen, changing business goals not only okay, but sometimes it's even essential for success. We have to do it. And more about this podcast, the more important thing here is changing your goal doesn't mean you failed. Changing your goal can also mean that you're adapting, you're changing. The goal has shifted. The goal of the business has shifted. There's a bigger prize, a better prize. It doesn't mean, it got too hard and we're not going to do it. So a lot of that is going to be your head trash along the way. And I will admit, I had to fight that pretty hard. But changing that goal might be essential. The ability to adapt and evolve is really a sentiment about being a resilient business. And a resilient business is just by definition a business that is tough to kill. Whether you're facing new market conditions, technological advancements, shifting customer preferences, being open to change, at least being open. I'm not saying we have to change, but being open to change can position your business for really long-term success. And I'll tell you, for us, I'm serious. We went along for years that 7 to 9% profit margin, thinking that we were doing pretty good for a service business. And I've kind of gotten away from this, but I'll tell you this, Greg Crabtree's book, Simple Numbers, Straight Talk, Big Profits, it talks about 10% profit margin now being the new break even in businesses. And this is a great book for those entrepreneurs out there. I may even have talked about this book before. This is a great one in terms of profitability, things that we do as business owners that we think are okay or we think are normal. But that's an eye-opener when they say that 10% is the new break even. So as we've seen, just in this quick discussion, changing business goals is not only okay, but often essential for success. Being able to adapt shows that you're resilient. As always, I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you like what you heard here, click that like button below, follow along, tell a friend. This episode of Changing Goals is, I think, a fun one. And if there's anything that I can do to help you with your business, I'm Jeff Luther with Service Business Blueprint. Check out our Instagram page. You can follow us on YouTube. Thanks for hanging out on the Service Business Blueprint with me, Jeff Luther. Stay in the loop as we keep delivering these strategies to supercharge your service business. Hit subscribe, leave a review, be part of our growing community. Now you have someone to walk with you as we create your service business blueprint. Until next time, remember, where you focus is where your energy goes. Beliefs turn to things, so choose the good ones.